All right, looked like it's on. You want to take the handle, Tyler?
Yeah, sure. And you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So this is our weekly OSF meeting. So we're gonna do the main purpose of the meeting today is to go over the project brainstorm and figure out like what we're gonna do as a first project as OSF. But there's a couple other housekeeping items I want to go over before we do that. One is just talking about like the Discord and moving over to the Discord. Well, actually, I'll read through the agenda real quick. So we're going to talk about the Discord, which we've been experimenting with for the past couple weeks. The Notion, which just finished building out today, which is what you're looking at right now. And then the open projects and tasks, which is kind of like a process different from the proposal process that we'll go over in a second. And then finally, we'll end with the project brainstorm. And so for anybody like listening in, when we do the project brainstorm, like you still have an opportunity to contribute to that brainstorm. Just add it to the document after this, and the brainstorm will actually never end. Like we're always going to be brainstorming for the life of this organization. So like you can always have ideas, and it's fine. But this is just a time to get us like kickstarted and get some momentum, and like start executing on a project by next meeting. All right, let's do the first one. Moving over to the Discord. So, have y'all, Parker, Corey, have y'all checked out the Discord? I'm assuming. Like, I know you have actually. What do you guys think about it, just in terms of like as a tool, both for like the board and the web dev groups, but like also for the full organization? Like, does it seem something useful and like significant improvement over Skype?
I think so. I think actually Joe, Corey, and I were the ones who said in response to your message, it works for us. I think we're all fairly familiar with it, and I've seen Corey, Joe interacting with other Discord servers before. So I think we can go forward trying to get as many other people to transfer as possible and getting them to frequent the app. Because I think the potential thing, and this is with Skype too, is that it's just an app installed on their phones without notifications, and then it just gets dusty and is never checked. But I think a lot of the people who with Skype, there's a very low chance of them helping with the project. I think Analu just randomly checking this Skype chat and being able to build a website was sort of a freak thing. But I'm not quite sure. I like the capabilities of Discord compared to Skype, certainly.
Yeah, I would agree with basically all of that.
So going forward as to implementing Discord and getting people using it as the main thing, because you were making that point earlier, Tyler, that if it's both ways, two different things we're using, it doesn't really work well having two platforms and two communication methods. What are your thoughts on how we get people to move over from Skype to Discord?
I think people are going to move over once we have projects that are going on. I think once we come up with some ideas and are like, hey, we're working on this and we're discussing it within the Discord, and if we send private messages within the Discord to other people that we're working with, I think it'll naturally happen.
Yeah, just let them know that we have like some kind of scholarship or something to do, like, I don't know, that's kind of in general how you get like movement and traffic, just kind of have something going on over there, some kind of activity, specifically something that people want, right? Like if people want, a scholarship to go like on a weekend retreat, right? Maybe it's $100 or something. And it covers like some kind of meals or like I don't know, like that's the great way to it kind of sounds like baiting or trapping, but that really is like the principle, just on a different level. Like essentially people go where they want to go. So if we kind of like just demonstrate how Or kind of like just work those things in, right? Make it somewhere that people want to go, and then people will naturally go there. One person tells another person. So have something where it's kind of like some degree of rewarding, even if that reward is just appreciation or gratitude. And like kind of, I don't know, that'll naturally get the activity and stuff that we want.
Yeah, I like that the idea, Corey. I mean, I think to build on that a little bit, like I think one easy thing we can do is switch it out on the website to move from Discord, like because there's like a link to the Skype website, so switch that to be Discord, so you can make a task for that, and then kind of gently directing people, like if we could all pitch in on this, like if you see people like talking on any of those channels, just like kindly direct them back to to Discord. That'd be really awesome.
That all sounds great.
And then, but then, yeah, I think Corey, to your point, like once there's more stuff happening on Discord and there's more projects, I think it'll naturally die. But I do want to like really like keep reminding people to go to the Discord, because if they're not on that, like there's people who are like seeing a ghost town in the Skype, they're not going to know that they actually have to be going to that Discord. There's a lot more activity happening. So it would be, what I think would be useful for this if someone could take ownership over like just moving people over, especially people who've been really important in the past, like kind of reminding, like Anilu, for example, like I sent her a message before, but like just kind of messaging individual people and be like, hey, like I noticed you're not on this. It'd be awesome if you can like sign on. And then also sending out these periodic reminders in the channels, being like, yo, we're gonna shut this down pretty soon, so move on over. What do you all think about that?
Yeah, I don't mind sending messages to people if I notice that they are not active, like perhaps like I don't know, Keyshawn or something like that I know he's kind of active and he's kind of it's new to Discord, so like yeah, if there's somebody like that I notice, then I can send a message. It's not a problem.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That'd be really awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you, Joe. Okay, cool. I think anything else on the Discord piece? I think we're all good there.
I think we're good there.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I like the idea of Discord too, because we have like just a general chat room where people could like frequently come in and have conversations, like about, because essentially if we're building a big project together, some kind of benefit that a lot of people will like is a sense of community and belonging. That is kind of like the root of Sangha, but also the building of the Sangha too is its own kind of community. And so if we have the Discord, and like we have a group of people who are there and they're just frequently in there chatting, yeah, we could make like appointments for, about business or about something specific, but then just having a general place where people come and chat is going to do a lot as well for kind of progress and growth, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I got to get going. I got to get back. My lunch break's over, but I'll watch the rest of the chat later on today.
Thanks for stopping in, Corey.
Awesome.
Have a good one.
See you, Corey.
All right, sweet. So next one we'll talk about is just like this Notion. And so currently what you're looking at right now is the Notion. It's like, I'm just going to quickly go over this, talk about the structure, how it works. So for those who are not familiar, Notion is like a collaborative, like kind of wiki. And so we're going to use it basically as our project home for managing like our meeting notes, kind of ongoing projects and tasks. It's like pretty flexible in how it works. And so I'm just going to go over the structure. So this is the homepage. Like if you were to send this to someone, this would be the first thing that they see. Our mission at the top, and like all of our relevant links, our Discord, YouTube, everything. The weekly meeting notes, for here you can see the one that we're working on right now. But then also, one cool thing about this too is I can automatically add templates as well. And so open this up, and you can see that this is like a custom template added for the meeting notes. It's kind of handy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's delete this before I forget. All right. Another part that's familiar to us that transferred over from our Google Drive is our board proposals. And so these were kind of buried in a Google Drive before. So it'll just be like a little bit easier to navigate, and like the status and decision are all here. So it's just like a little bit nicer. I also added things that we didn't have formal proposals for these, but we did take votes on them, approving the bylaws and the board roles. So I just added these. And then, so something that's new, so that's all like familiar, it's kind of transferring what we had before into like this new project home. There's two other concepts that are new though. One are projects and tasks. And this will be really important for us. So like just manage, because we're gonna be doing like a lot of like open-ended tasks, like people in different time zones coordinating on different projects. So we'll start with projects. So this is everything that's in progress. And these are kind of like the top level goals, right? Like setting up a 501c3, transitioning in Discord, deciding the first project for OSF, right? These are like all the things, at least in my mind, that I think we're working on right now. And there is with every project, there's a lead. So that lead is the person who's like driving it forward. Like they're responsible for it. They are kind of finding other people who can help on it. They're making sure tasks get done and people aren't blocking each other. And if someone can't lead anymore, they can't fulfill that role, that's okay, but they just have to find another lead to do it. And it's kind of the responsibility is on them for not having these projects like languish. One interesting part about this, so what you can do is you can open this up. You can see there's also a template for how projects work. So there's just like a project template where you can see the context about it, anything about this project, what you're going to be doing, and then also the project tasks. And so this is actually like a cool part of how this Notion is set up, is that it links tasks to the project. And so you can see I have like these 3 tasks here about bylaws, incorporation, creating a bank account, right? If we go to the tasks page, you can see the same projects and tasks. There's links, like a different view of it. And so this is like all of our tasks across all of the projects. So it's a kind of like nifty way of, viewing top level versus the more like granular. Similar to how there's like owners of projects, there are like owners for individual tasks. So like you still have like a lead for a project, but that lead might be working with multiple people. So for example, like Parker might be figuring out is the lead for deciding the first project for Sangha Foundation, but I'm just helping lead this brainstorm, for example, right? And each of these, I don't have any detail here, but each of these can have like detail about what the task looks like. So the idea of this is that we're going to be reviewing this every single meeting we have. So every Monday bi-weekly meeting, we look at our open projects tasks. The project leads get everything is recorded here. It should be recorded here. Like if you're the project lead, you need to like update the status of your task to make sure everything is accurate and all the information is reflected there. And that's just how we kind of keep on the same page about what's going on, even if we're asynchronous. So the goal of this is that you can have someone new show up, right? So like you can imagine the user experience of this being somebody goes on the website, they join the Discord. When they join the Discord, the welcome page screen will show you like useful links, including this Notion. So they'll be able to go into this Notion and see, okay, these are all the projects, tasks that are going on. This is everything that's happening. This is where I can start contributing. And it's just an easy kind of immediately. And that's like the goal of this. Cool. I'm gonna pause there. What are you guys' initial feedback on this? Like, does this feel like it makes sense or would be useful?
Yeah, it looks really well organized. Good job.
Yeah, it does. It looks great.
Yeah, awesome.
One question would be,
more clear. Go ahead. Sorry.
do we need to have a paid plan so multiple people can edit it?
Oh yes, thank you for bringing that up. It's actually important. So we are using Notion in a certain way that is free, but it has some unfortunate like side effects of that. One is that so I can share this. So I think I shared this to be publicly available. So like anybody can look at this, can view it. They can't edit this page, but I've made like certain parts of this completely editable. So like anybody can like add meeting notes, for example, the way I set the sharing.
Mhm.
Well, actually, I mean, you should check this. That may not be completely true right now. Oh yeah, they can edit, anyone can edit this page and add new subpages, new meeting notes. So an unfortunate part of that is that like things can potentially get messed up. Like this is a publicly viewable like wiki. People can potentially like delete things or like mess up configurations. We can try to guard against that as we can, and we'll like do things to do that. And, like, but that's just an unfortunate part of like using the free kind of hacky version of Notion. There are ways that we can pay for this and like make it kind of like so there are multiple users who have accounts, and it's more of like a formal type thing. That does start getting expensive. Once we're a 501c3, we can get like I think up to a 50% discount on that if we were to choose to do that. But I think this will get us pretty far on the free version.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine for what we're doing, and we'll take our chances with the sort of that our comma is will continue to work okay.
Yeah.
And if not, we'll deal with whatever consequences whenever it arises. But
yeah,
I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
We can just hope for the best for now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to our.
I really appreciate it because it makes it a lot more clear what's actually going on, because I was noticing that with the Google Drive where I was like, oh shit, this is really confusing, and like it gets confused with my own personal Google Drive and the docs and stuff, and this is nice because it's all in one place.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I was getting lost too. I created most of the docs in the Google Drive, and I was still like not really sure what was going on. So yeah, I totally get that. Okay. Oh, so I already went through the open projects and tasks. Actually, let's go back to that because there's a few other things I want to talk about. So we can kind of like actually go through this process of using this task right now and like start using this tool immediately. So one thing is that we were going to, so we can like we can, maybe like 10 minutes ago we came up with ideas for how we can help transition to Discord, and so we can add these as tasks right now during the meeting. This is something we should be doing during meetings as like ideas come up. So like write them, get them in Notion, put someone's name to it. So one is, what did we say? You want to change link on website from Skype to
Discord.
And then
maybe also we could pin the message that you sent within Discord with this link, so that way it's a little bit easier for people to find where this planning. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of what it's called.
Notion.
Yeah, Notion. Yeah, so that way it can be easier to find.
Yes, well, I'll have it in the welcome screen, but I'll also put this too in the journal channel. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I'm gonna have Matt be the person responsible for this. Is it Matt Hoskins or Hoskin?
Hoskins.
Okay, cool. So I'll do that one, and I'll like. An unfortunate part of this, since we're using the free version of this, is this won't automatically notify him. I just like type his name in, so then I'm gonna have to like go and tell Matt like, hey, can you do this? All right. So then the other one was I'm not sure if this is really even a task, but it's just like remind people to move to Discord. Remind people in Skype to move to Discord.
Yeah, I don't think you need to write it as a task really, because like okay. I can keep an eye on it, and like I'm active enough online that I'll message people when they're.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right.
Great.
When it seems like they should want to be active, but they're just not. So.
All right, beautiful. And then there's like I didn't finish adding responsible people to this, but I think actually let's just do it now while we're all here. So the file articles of corporation, that's still like not quite done yet, right, Parker?
No, that's not done yet.
Okay. Board approves bylaws. That's done. Decide whether or not we're going to transition to Discord. I think we just decided that.
Yeah.
Now, right. So that's done. And Parker did most of this. So Parker, cool. So I think this is kind of up to date with everything. Ideally, in a
I have one question on things that have been going on. Is the finances okay for like applying for the 501c? Like, I guess there was like somebody that was supposed to like send money and like pay for it. And
Yep. Matt forwarded me the PayPal money, and things have been going smoothly so far.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, when do we think we'll be able to like file the paperwork?
Right now, I'm waiting for Robert to sign the documents. So the conflict of interest policy and the bylaws need to be signed by me, who is written as the founder, and Robert Cohen, who's written as the secretary. So once he does that, I have all the instructions, and then I can apply from there.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay. Y'all ready to do the brainstorm?
Yeah.
Before we do that, so we're gonna write the takeaways from here, so that we're going to move to Discord. It goes right here. We're going to move to Discord. We're going to, I'll say Joe. Just going to remind folks Skype. Go on Discord. And Matt will help us change link on website to Discord. And then, okay, what's the other takeaway was I'm going to use this Notion for project management. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, so for the brainstorm, like the idea here is we want to just generate as many ideas as we possibly can. And oh, nice, hey Robert.
Hey Robert.
Hey Robert.
Hey guys.
Hey, you got here just in time. We're about to start the brainstorm, so I'll back up a couple seconds here to fill you in. So, the goal of this brainstorm is just to make as many ideas as we possibly can. This is kind of like a improv, kind of like yes and exercise, where it's like you want to get like wild and crazy. Don't hold yourself back by like what's sounds reasonable or like feasible or like the best possible idea. Just like come up with ideas, and then like we'll kind of sift through them at the end and figure out which ones are good. And a lot of what we're trying to do, I guess we're trying to do two things with this. One is that we ultimately want to find one project that we can work on and like start on the next couple weeks, right? Like that's like really what we want to do. But at the same time, like if somebody's willing to take initiative on a project, like they can just do it, right? And this can give people a lot of ideas for how they can like contribute if they want to lead a project. So yeah, like we want to prioritize one project, but these are things that anybody can pick up if they wanted to, right? If somebody wanted to build like a teacher database or something, even if we didn't do that as our first project, they can kind of find that idea here and be like, oh, I'm going to run with this. So we're going to kind of, the way that we're going to do this is by connecting it back to the mission statement, because it's something that we need to make sure we're doing it as we brainstorm, is that everything is actually connected to the mission, right? Like we don't want to like come up with an idea and then after the fact be like, wait, how is this relevant? So the way that we're going to do that is that we're going to brainstorm by components of the mission statement. So the first one is like, how can we create Sangha by supporting generosity? And it'll be kind of focused on like tools, ways that generosity can be used for Sangha, right? It'll be like very focused. Another one will be creating Sangha by promoting camaraderie. And finally, it'll be encouraging integration into existing communities. So we'll kind of do these one at a time, just so it's easier to think about and can be like a little bit more focused in how we're brainstorming it. And yeah. So does this make sense to everybody so far?
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
And do you guys all have access to this Notion, and you can like kind of like go on this page and like add edits and everything?
Yeah.
Yep, I have the tab open.
I'm on a phone at the moment, guys, so I won't be able to update the Notion directly at this time.
Okay, well, in that case, maybe we can. I was going to do something where we like have a silent minute or two and we all write a bunch of ideas. But instead of that, and also maybe for the benefit of people watching the video afterwards, we can just do it live and just like talk through it, so Robert can participate as well. So let's go through the first one, and I'm just going to take notes as we're talking. So like let's say like, how can we create Sangha by spreading generosity? And generosity can mean a lot of things. It can mean of like time, money, whatever, right? But you know, there will be overlap with these other ones of camaraderie and integration of existing communities. That's totally fine. Don't worry about it. We just want to come up with ideas related to generosity and how to make Sangha. So one idea, which is just because we were just talking about earlier, is like having a physical space. That'd be like a super generous, awesome thing you could do to create Sangha.
Yeah, so to give some on the idea of generosity, I think what's inhibiting that is teachers. I think most Dhamma teachers would want to be supported by donations and want to be supported by Dana, but in the current cultural, social landscape, that's not a norm. And it takes a lot of time and to build something around generosity. I think there might be 2 teachers that I know of who are non-monks, Delson Armstrong and Beth Upton, who do generosity-based teachings and take Dana. But imagine if you were just a Westerner who, has a job and is really interested in this Dhamma thing and is deciding they want to make a career shift to teaching. How do you do that? I mean, do you quit your job and live without money and try to find students who will donate to you when donations aren't really a cultural thing? And the teacher might make a compromise by asking students to donate to them, but then it's not really donations and generosity in the purest form of the term. It gets more into just a transactional relationship. So I think these are things for us to explore, see what people are doing, eventually maybe get in contact with teachers and hear their thoughts on it. But maybe a more practical thing that what really sprouted the initial idea for this organization is the idea of Watts, that teachers are limited because they don't have the 4 requisites unless they have an income. They don't have shelter, food, clothing, medical care unless they have some sort of income. So there are multiple ideas related to getting teachers set up in Watts.
Before we go too deep into that, so are we still talking about generosity here? Or are we talking about encouraging integration to existing communities?
I think it overlaps, but the main thing is generosity here. And
so can we reframe what, like, so I like the context you've been giving. Is there a way that we can like reframe or redescribe what you've been saying, but into like a project? Is there a project associated with
I can definitely think of a project of like making, like, having some sort of fund to just so that people can travel to existing Watts, because there's a problem that the Watts themselves are free, but then people who are kind of broke and really into the Dhamma don't necessarily have a way to get to the Watts. And I know that I would, I don't even make any money, but I would still chip in money to somebody wanting to like just get a train ticket to go places. And I agree with what Parker's saying, that there are already these spaces that are available where the teachings are free. So it would be helpful to have some sort of scholarship fund that potentially we could have some sort of way of kind of, I don't know, just talking to people and seeing if they're ready to take something like this on, because the danger obviously is somebody having a life crisis and being like, oh yeah, I'm going to go here, and then like they're not really actually like ready to go hang out at a Watt for a while. But to have some sort of method also of just talking, like interacting with people, so that there can be some of us that are talking to people that have been practicing for a while, and then deciding, oh yeah, this person definitely is like could potentially benefit from this. Like, I mean, I would chip in money for Robert to go to a Watt. I've been bugging him to do it for a long time.
Well, actually, I really like that idea. So, I mean, one way, well, I'm just going to write a couple like sub-variations of it that are kind of coming to mind as you're saying this. So one is kind of like we have like a common pool of funding that people apply to. But the thing that I kind of was thinking of as you were saying that was like almost like this personal interaction you could have, something like funding someone individually. Like, for example, Parker wants to go on a retreat, and Parker like hits us up and like, hey, like I want to do this, and then someone can be like, hey, I'm gonna sponsor you, and I'm gonna have a meeting with you to talk about what you want to do. And then what's cool about that is they would create like a personal connection. And so you like are building this idea of like generosity that's very personal feeling rather than an abstraction.
It feels less corporate.
Yeah.
It also can be cool to even like make it public, because that can be nice for people to say, oh, like this person sponsored. So I don't know. I think some people could actually be like feel good about that, a little bit. And it's silly to like ignore that and keep it sort of private or something. At least for me, it feels a little bit like that. But
Hey, Dhamma.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hi, Damarato.
Hey,
Yes.
To fill
Go
you
ahead.
in, we're doing the brainstorm right now. So for this brainstorm, we're kind of thinking through like wild and crazy project ideas that connect to each part of the mission. And so we're doing this in 3 phases. One's talking about generosity. The next is like how we create Sangha by promoting camaraderie. And the last is about how we create Sangha by encouraging integration into existing Watts. So right now we're brainstorming about how we use generosity to create Sangha.
We mentioned so far the ideas were having a physical space where people can have their own self-guided forest retreat, basically just so that people can realize they can go into the forest. And the other idea was having a fund so that people can travel to existing Watts. Basically, the idea was the Watts are free, but some people don't even have money to be able to pay for a train ticket. And wouldn't it be nice? I would be excited to pay for somebody to be able to go to a Watt that doesn't have money for a train ticket. And I think other people would be excited for that too.
Yes, I know what you mean. Now, here's one of the things that's different is that there are not really that many retreat centers, and the retreats are not run very often. And so you've got to get the student connected with the retreat at a particular time, and there may be a distance involved. That's not going to be so much of a trouble because there's that many Watts and there's no time frame, in the sense that they can just show up at the closest Watt at any particular time. Oh, a bit of news on that level. We have a friend here named John who just arrived, and in fact, he got here on the first day of the retreat at Deepapawan, and so he stayed here, and we did a tour, and he's been to Anthony's Retreat Center in Wat Khao Tum. And then yesterday he went back to Wat Khao Tum, and the monk invited him to stay and move in. So we've got two guys who have, each one of them found a monk who will mentor them.
That's great.
Yeah, 2 out of 2. So I thought that I would mention that. Yeah, John's now going to be moving into what I'm right here on the island.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's not as hard. In a way, we can think of is that knowing that there is travel and also occasional expenses is kind of like a backstop. Because everybody out there now doesn't know, and they think it's all really a big deal that I quit my job and move in. And now we're beginning to prove that it's not such a big deal, and that we can support people so that they figure out that it's not a big deal. I would also say that possibly we would be using money for actually setting up weekend retreats, having food, and perhaps one of the Asian ladies or two, especially if it's a weekend retreat, that's only 2 meals for the whole retreat. So I think that we can set these retreats up in advance, have everything paid for, so that we can tell the students this retreat's free. It's been paid for completely. Now you can contribute to the next retreat if you want.
I really like it. So I think there's 2 ideas I heard there. I'm gonna kind of make sure we capture both of them. So one was setting up weekend retreats, and so my understanding of what you're saying is like you pay for, like in a lot of these Watts, like you can stay there for free, you can practice for free, but like the food and stuff, someone has to help kind of like pay for that food.
Right.
And so that would be something where like we have some kind of fun and we kind of talk to the Watt themselves, or maybe the retreat leader would do that and say, hey,
Yeah,
this is how much.
that's the thing. That's the best part of it is to get the Watts involved with our organization. The monks that I've talked to really think that it's a good idea. We even got one monk from Chicago who is actively participating. So that would be a really good thing for us to have the Watts already kind of connected together through this organization at the English language Westerner level, because they're already connected at the Asian level. Monks already know kind of, not everybody, but they certainly know each other a lot, especially at the abbot level.
Another thing that I heard that Dhammarato was saying is that like communicating this in a way that it's not such a big deal, which I think is something that we could work on through the website, is like having some sort of way of communicating, because there's this notion that, yeah, you have to give up your life, it's this big deal and blah, 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 I got to move to Asia. But like just continuing this message that like, it's not that big of a deal. You can just go to the local Watt that is around you, and you can even stay as a lay friend. You don't have to give up all of this stuff in order to deepen your own personal practice. Because I think it can be a hindrance for a lot of people to think that, oh my God, how am I going to deal with all this stuff that I have to give up? But you can go for a month and maybe you end up staying.
Exactly. That's the whole thing, is just to kind of ease into it. And so a trip or two to the Watt just to go visit for the day or for the afternoon or for the morning or whatever like that. And you do that 2 or 5 times, and the door begins to open wider and wider. But that's nature. That's not anything actual Buddhist. That's human nature. You see a man on the street, you know nothing about him. You meet him tomorrow, then you see him for coffee the next day in the restaurant, and pretty soon you've seen this guy enough that now he's familiar to you.
So yeah, so maybe just to build on that a little bit more, like what are ways that we can communicate that this is something that's very doable? Like where are the best ways that we can get the word out there?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Well,
having people's stories could be helpful. I mean, I
we're
think
already collecting those.
right,
That's
yeah,
what
with
gotta-
Keyshawn,
we
like
got-
having Keyshawn's story, you know, and like I mean, I can write about like places I've had good experiences with, you know, and other people can write about it too, and that would be helpful.
Yes, that's exactly what I would say is the whole have, a whole bunch of pages. Each one of them has a testimonial of some student who has gone and made friends at the Watt. And this is the Watt that I visited. They had this kind of stuff, and I met these friends, and I stayed this long. That kind of stuff, you know, just kind of informational as well as inspirational.
Cool. It's a good
So
idea.
have a little blog of just like Keyshawn. I'm glad that Keyshawn finished his. His is the first one we've got as an example. But Daniel right now has just arrived into Chiang Mai, and I've asked him to do a write-up. So we've got a lot of write-ups coming as people spend time in Asia or spend time in what's in the West. So I can see a whole section of the website of testimony. Hadn't thought of that before. That's a really, really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, even well, there's like testimonials, I think, for getting people into a Watt, but even like getting a weekend retreat, right? Like if we were to successfully set up one weekend retreat, that'd be like a really awesome thing we can write about. So like, hey, this is what we're about. See, the model works, like we did it here.
Oh, yes. In fact, that would be something we could look forward to in the way of doing a lot of cell phone video capture of the first retreat that was set up this way, a more natural retreat.
Cool. That's a good idea. Sorry. So like do this initial retreat and then create videos about it and use it to kind of like spread the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Summer, I had a question about going back to like the generosity up here. So when we talk about like funding, like we've talked about like funding students, right? Like, okay, well, we can help pay for their travel, for example. What do you think this?
No, I don't want to fund students. We already have an organization like that, the Open Dhamma Foundation funds students, and I don't like their model very well. How do they fund students is by paying for the retreat and paying for the transportation to the retreat within the business model of the American Western Buddhism. I would prefer not to pay the students the money that then they give to the retreat center. Let's support the retreat centers directly so that the students, all of the students, can benefit from it rather than one or two. So if we do it the way where people fund for scholarships, we'll get one or two people who want to go do, let us say, a Chuladasa retreat. But if we funded the Chuladasa retreats, then many students would benefit from the fact that the prices are lowered or even down to nothing at all, or dana.
That makes
So
sense.
I'm not interested in actually giving the students money. But there is another thing that they do, which is set up, I know of, and that is that they arranged for a rented car because they had 5 or 6 students arriving at the airport at the same time, and so they all got the same rented car to go to the retreat, and that was something that was arranged through the Open Dhamma Foundation. So we could do that too, but I'm not thinking that we're going to have much of that situation. But I would like to see all of this done at a kind of a local level so that the people around Chicago, they don't have to go anywhere except down to the Watt, and there's 10 of them in the city.
So I had a question about that because you were talking about like supporting retreat centers or like a Watt directly, and
right,
I think so like that makes sense, and especially in the context of like a retreat where like there are expenses with that retreat, and that like those are borne by the center or the Watt. But I'm curious about like how do you think about supporting teachers directly, like.
Oh, that's the whole point of it. Yes, if we are supporting, here's the support of the teacher directly would be Um, uh, let us say that a student, we'll give example of Robert, who I think is online with us. He wants
Hello.
to come to Thailand, and he doesn't have a whole lot of money, to where Eric is on VA disability. So Eric's got no problems with money. He's going to be dripping with money for the rest of his life. He's not going to have any possible way of spending all of that money. And so he, with his VA check, could support 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 monks once they get into Thailand. So this is the idea then, is that we could support Robert. I would say that the issue is that someone has to get their own plane ticket to come to Thailand, or get themselves into the Wat, wherever the Wat is, knowing that we will make sure that they are taken care of, especially before they ordain. Once they ordain, the Asian people are going to grab them up and take care of them like a long lost son. That even Pratip mentioned, when Matt couldn't find a Wat that he wanted to go to in Florida, Achan Pradeep says, well, I've got a friend, ha ha ha, I've got a friend who works for an airline. We'll just get you a ticket and bring you up here to Chicago. Okay, this is the kind of generosity mentality that the Asians have that we just don't have in the West. And so when someone ordains, I was fully taken care of, better taken care of than I could imagine while I was a monk. Okay, so once they become a monk, there's no issue. But before they become a monk, there's going to be a few things to do and buy, and sort of easing into it. And there will be some expenses, some money. And when guys quit their job and come to Asia, as the example, because we've got both West and the East, and some who want to come to visit here or to stay in Thailand. And so they've got enough money to build up. But then the terror of, well, what happens when my $3,000 or $4,000 or $10,000 runs out? The answer would be is that don't worry about that. That if you need something, we'll get it for you. And it looks like that Thailand is getting really much easier about visas now.
Dhamma, I have a question about visas. How did you mentioned John earlier? How did he get a visa to stay in Thailand longer than like 45 days?
Well, this is the thing that I find strange, because Thailand is really getting weird about that kind of stuff, from being overly strict, not even allowing any planes to land from China, that kind of stuff, into more open now than I've ever seen. When John arrived, when he went through immigration, they didn't even put a stamp, not one. He showed me his visa, and every stamp in his visa is from other countries. All they gave him was a telephone number and a piece of paper that says, call this number in 45 days. Wow, have things changed. Okay. And so there's one more point in that. Tam now has a friend who's working in the immigration office here on the island. And that's what we've needed all along. We've got a friend now who's actually in the immigration office. And so there's going to be no problem with that. So all John has to do is to call, but probably a better thing to do, rather than calling the number that they gave him in Bangkok, is to just go to the visa office and talk to our friend. Go over there and say what paperwork you need to fill out and get her done.
I mean, one thing that I can say about the change with that is that like, even though they don't stamp it, it's because they scan passports nowadays, so like they're totally aware of like when you enter country, just because everything's electronic now, even if you don't have a stamp in your passport. Because it was the same thing when I went, that they didn't stamp my passport. That was a long time ago. But they were totally aware still of when I entered the country. And from what I understand in Thailand, and I don't know if it's still like this, but back then it was like you just had to travel to a border country for the day, and then you come back and you just make these border runs.
That's the
back
old
and
way.
forth.
That's the way that I did it years and years and years ago. Is a 3-month visa and then out you go. Nowadays, no. They have 90-day extensions, 90-day extensions, and that kind of stuff. And so they've made it much easier now. And that's especially true because COVID decimated the entire nation's economy, because Thailand has so much of their infrastructure involved with tourism, and tourism just about died. So there's another item on that list that you guys may be amused at, and that is that Thailand's the first country in Southeast Asia to relax their marijuana laws. So now ganja is free. Not free to buy, but I mean it's freely open and available. So that's another issue of showing that the Thais are now really interested in getting their tourism back, because it's still nothing compared to what it was.
So I think this is useful, though I do want to just be mindful of time. We have only 20, 30 minutes left, and I think we have a lot of topics covered in the brainstorm.
Yes, let's get back to. I just wanted to mention that part about it being much easier now, and so
Thank you, Dhamma.
we can support people. That's not an issue. I'd be willing to support 3 or 4 guys all by myself. But if we had 30 or 40 or 75 or 200 guys in Thailand or around in various spots, I'd need some help with that.
Well, so I just want to make sure I understand this, supporting the teachers directly, like what we actually mean by that. So when supporting, it sounds like what we're thinking of this as is like basically like a backstop of people want to they probably want to ordain, is what we're thinking of. And like on the way to ordaining or costs, it's expensive. People may not have the money they need. And we can be kind of like,
well, they think they might have not the money they need. They don't really need the money, because if you are a layman living in the Wat, there will always be enough food and shelter. So the most 2 important issues, in fact, all of the requisites, food, shelter, you probably, when you come in, you've already got enough clothing to last for quite a long time. And so medication would be the only issue. And since Thailand more or less has free medical care for monks, and that I'm a good friend with some nurses at the local hospital. And so I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about my medical care for the rest of my life. To where in the West, medical care is a major issue. Housing is a major issue.
Well, I just want to make sure I understand how this works, though, because when I think of a teacher, I could think of like, okay, well, one is, are they trying to become a teacher that ordains? Is one version of it.
Everyone's that category in my mind.
Okay.
That's where everybody is.
Well, because you have like your Daniel Ingrams and your Delson Armstrongs in the world or whatever who don't ordain. And I'm not sure if we are explicitly saying like, hey, like we are the kind of teachers that we want are those who are like, that's how we think of what a teacher is. There's someone who's going to actually ordain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well,
there's also I know
that's actually an issue in Thailand, that the Thai people would rather have a monk do the teaching than a layman, and that's traditional. But if you think of it from the perspective of the layman wants some money because he's afraid of his life, to where the monks are just already taken care of. They don't need anything. We don't have to go donate to the monk. In fact, donating to the monk himself is verboten. Where the Westerners say, oh, well, you pay for the retreat and you get your room and board and you pay for that, and then you have to make the teacher donation. That's the way that they're trying to arrange it, so that the laymen who are teaching don't have to feel so guilty about charging money. But within the Thai tradition, the monks themselves who are teaching do not expect nor want any retribution for their teaching. It's free of charge. All that's interesting is the food and shelter.
And let's say, oh, sorry. But let's say that someone went to ordain, would they most likely need to go to like, Thailand or Myanmar or whatever first to ordain, or is there a path where they could ordain within the U.S. or like another Western
There
country?
are a lot of ordinations in the West. They
Got it.
already are doing that. It happens on a regular basis, but it normally happens within the Asian community. But I
Got it.
do know of probably 8 or 10 Westerners who, over the years, have actually ordained in the West, stayed at the what that they ordained at. That happens on a regular basis.
Got
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I know you can. I mean, you can ordain at Amaravati in the UK. I mean, like, and there's other places in the UK that you can ordain. So you don't necessarily have to go to Thailand to do that. Or you
No,
can ordain at Plum Village and.
Cool.
Amaravati also they could ordain at Plum Village.
Yeah.
But these two places, along with the Abhayagiri, are kind of unique and special because they're set up for Westerners from the get-go. Okay. However, I'm talking about what Greensboro and what Buddhadom and in Los Angeles and in San Francisco, there's 6 or 7 Watts. And that there was a young Westerner who ordained at the Fremont Watt. He was many years. Another one in Orlando, a white man, joined and became a monk in Orlando. I had nothing to do with it. I met him after he was already a monk. I've met many of the young Lao men who ordained in America. And so, yes, ordinations in America is it's something it's a celebration. The whole community will come to the if a Westerner come. The entire Asian population will come for that ordination to support.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I think we have a lot of good ideas for generosity. Before we move on to camaraderie, do you guys have any kind of other ideas related to Sangha and generosity before we leave this section?
No, I think the ideas you have are great so far.
All right. We'll move on to the next one. So let's talk about how we can like create Sangha by promoting camaraderie. So one thing that's come up before, and I know Dhamarado's brought this up in some previous calls, is like having like a teacher Sangha call, like a weekly. And
Yes.
so yes, I'm curious if you could like give a little more detail on that, Dhamarado, like what you meant by that and like what the content of that call would be like.
Well, I can see it in the use in 2 ways. One is that it will, by invitation, an individual teacher will, let us say, be in charge of this particular call. And what he will do there is he will give a practice teaching. He will teach the Dhamma, being listened to by people who he knows enough Dhamma that he knows what he's doing. So it gets them into the realm. I mean, if you are just chatting with your friends and you tell them something, that's one thing. But if you're, let us say, chatting with a particular knowledgeable group, let us say like theoretical mathematicians, and you're going to be speaking to them about theoretical math, you kind of need to know what you're talking about. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for with the teacher calls is that it's going to be teachers listening to teachers teach the Dhamma, and then the other aspect of that would be teachers becoming friends with other teachers in a non-competitive way. But they don't know each other, and there's no vehicle for them to find each other. That in fact schools um, that teach students how to become a meditation teacher, they don't even foster this. That there's no Sangha in, let us say, with Jack Cornfield, when he's teaching online and charging money for that teaching, he does not make his student body into a Sangha. But we could. Because we've got the idea that that's what we want to do. We want to take teachers that are newly budding teachers and give them an opportunity to be in communion with more senior teachers and also to practice teaching. That's one thing that I really would encourage among our group too. And I'm really pleased that Scott's taken up, and so Scott's once a week is managing the UK call on Wednesday evenings. I really, really like that, and I'd like to see more of it. To give each one of you an opportunity to start teaching the Dhamma. Maybe give a talk this month, and then give a talk next month until you get over the terror of teaching the Dhamma.
And when we say like teachers, like this could be lay people or who are like interested in teaching, or is it people who are like
This would be for the lay people who are still in the West.
Got it.
Okay, some of which may have just gotten their own credentials already and are out experimenting and helping those guys to get into the what. But also to give a forum, looking for a forum for a teachers forum where they can ask questions, come to some community, some getting their own bylaws, so to speak, together.
Got it. And just to rephrase what I think you're saying, so it'd be like it could be lay people in the West who maybe they don't even like know that they want to ordain at this point. They might just be interested in teaching the Dhamma. And then there are maybe people who are a little further down the path and they're like considering ordaining. And then there are people who are maybe like they might be fully ordained monks at this point, and they still want a community of teachers. Does that sound right?
And then we have the elders. The elders are another part of it that I would like to see folks like, Ajahn Sumedho, Ajahn Amaro rather, and Pisano from that lineage, and also Santikaro and Buckman and Dhammavitu and myself from Ajahn Po and Bhikkhu Buddhadasa's lineage. Et cetera, like that. So I'd like to see elders in it, the old Western men who have been in the Sangha for 30 or 40 years, way past retirement age. I'd set the minimum age of the elder group at 70, which means that even Daniel Ingram doesn't fit yet. He hasn't been.
I think just as a small point, like just so it's not so like men focused. I mean, you could say old Western monks or nuns, like because there could be nuns also.
Excellent point. I do not want to sound chauvinistic simply because of the numbers. That I would highly want to put a lot of our own effort into making sure that when women come, that they have a place to go too. And I know of several already. In fact, I know of one in Australia, I know one in California, I know one in England. But there's got to be other places that we don't know about yet. Places that where the woman asks, well, where can I go? The answer is, well, here's a whole long list of places. Find one close to you and hang out.
Cool. That makes sense. And what do you think about people who aren't necessarily trying to teach the Dhamma listening in on these calls? Do you think that would be inappropriate for them to listen, or do you think it could be useful?
Absolutely. Not only that, but many of them will come with that mentality this month, and after a few months, they'll say, well, yeah, I'll give it a go. That happens with everybody. You're not talking about individuals he's different than that individual over there. You're talking about one individual in the process that he's going through.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay, this idea feels like it's becoming like concrete and makes sense. Do you guys want to add anything more to this idea before we move on and keep thinking of new ones?
Nope.
Sweet. All right, so maybe we can keep thinking of other ideas to promote camaraderie. So do you guys have any other ideas that come to mind of like ways we can promote camaraderie between the Sangha?
This was kind of talked on in the previous tab, but a model sort of like where someone can give their situation and give their problem, and be connected with someone who is maybe well networked or has been through that problem before of wanting to get to a Wat. Maybe they could submit a form of some kind with their information, and then they'd be connected with someone maybe nearby or something to help them. I imagine this would be a little further out than where we're at, because right now it'd just be someone in the Sangha and they can get the information here. Something similar to this is 80,000 hours. It's like a resource blog article thing with careers looking to better the world. They have like podcasts and specific guides, and they have a similar thing where someone can get one-on-one advice. They can apply, and they'll get matched up with someone who's volunteered to that and is experienced.
Cool.
That's an excellent idea.
One idea that I had is getting some in-person meetups. I know that like Keyshawn met up with sorry, I forgot his name, the guy who's ordaining in Thailand. And I know some other people in
Eric and Robert Cohen.
Yeah,
All
okay.
three of
And I
them
know
together.
and I know some other people in Chicago have met up. I just was on a call with somebody who was in Chicago, and I said, oh, you should get in contact with Keyshawn. And so, it seems like there's a lot of people in that area. And obviously, in-person Sangha is, a lot more effective than online. So more of that, and just having an avenue. Like, I would love for more people to understand that. Like, I mean, I would love for people to want to come here that are serious and want to actually practice and like just hang out or whatever. I've offered it.
Marvelous idea. I like that. So let's put that on our list of things to put into the website as an area for meetups. Hey, I'm in Chicago and I go to this Wat, and anybody want to come to the Wat with me, or any of that kind of stuff would be the way that we could get those meetups up.
Totally, yeah. I got that on the list here. I really like that idea.
Yeah, there was a site years ago that I had a little bit to do with, and it seemed like that it was too localized and too time oriented. That they would set a time and a date and a particular location for the meetup, and I would rather have it much more individually oriented. That here I'm here, and let's meet up, and the time and the place is irrelevant.
Yeah, I've offered there might be one person that was going to come visit, because I've offered to a few people that I have room, and if anybody wants to come and practice, then I grow. I'm a farmer, so I have plenty of food. So
Cool. So like, so one version of this is like standing offers to stay at each other's homes and practice together.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And then the other version is like a set time and place, like the OSF
Or
Chicago
like
meetup.
yeah, or like somebody offered to be. They were like, oh, like you should come to Amaravati with me. So something like that. Like, we're gonna go to this place together that I've been to, and I can introduce you to the other people that are here.
Yes, exactly. So I like that idea, Joe. That's an excellent idea.
Cool. That's awesome. I mean, and what's cool about that too is it could be just like as simple as having a channel in Discord as like meetups channel, where like people can just like talk about it loosely without having too much structure behind it. Cool. Yeah, and just to build off of the Parker, your idea earlier, like I just want to kind of make sure I understand, is when like it sounds like, so it's kind of like a buddy program, I guess, almost. And I guess like, is the buddy program specifically, is it about like practice in general, like just people supporting each other's practice, or is it kind of more specifically geared towards like getting into a Wat and getting into retreats and integrating yourself in Wats?
I think that structure would probably be more oriented towards worldly things, like getting resources or connections. Just because the organization as a whole is less of a teaching organization and more of a organization, more of a meta level thing. It's not we're teaching this specific thing. It's we're helping people who are teaching this thing find things out. Does that make sense? Or get to the right place?
That does make sense. Cool. I really like that. Do you guys have any other ideas for camaraderie here?
The old site, I'm not sure that we're going to do that this time. We can talk about it over time, but one of the things that we had originally put in there was to gather up and get in touch with teachers all over the world who were really Dhamma oriented, and then let their names be on the website. You guys know the old website. I'm not sure that we want to do that this time, but um, the idea of doing it would be more of those teachers being good friends with each other rather than each individual teacher who don't know those other guys just happen to have their name on a website where people could call them. But that was the way that it was set up. I would rather see it as a particular group of teachers who were on the website, but that they knew and supported each other, all about friendship. And but that can be done at a later time. I think that the way that we want to do it in the beginning, or the first emphasis, is to start advertising that, hey guys, if you want to know about Buddhism, go where you can find people living it. Go to the what? Go hang out. Okay, so, but there's actually, as over time, the website can grow. And so we have to kind of take priorities. And I think that the first time that we did it, the priorities were wrong. And you guys have gotten the priorities so far set up correctly. Let's do this one at a time. Let's get that paperwork done. And now we'll get the website done. And with the website, we'll get the donation thing fixed up. And then the next item on that would be getting the newsletters going.
Yep.
And after we get the newsletters going and the website up, that's when we can all go out on the Reddit and everything and start talking it up, maybe taking some paid advertisements on places like Tricycle or Reddit or whatever. And so we can get the word out, but we really need to have things set first. And so I like the way that that we're approaching it this time, rather than just getting a website up as fast as we can and then put some teachers on it. That's the way that it got started, but that wasn't a sustainable model. Doing the right paperwork, you guys have gotten the right idea about that, and so Tyler, congratulations, you and Park and Joe, getting the board of directors going, all of that kind of stuff, getting it formalized. That's a good thing. So now the next thing we do after we do that is get the website up. But what's the first things that are important on the website? And I would say things like testimonials
Mm-hmm.
and offers, as well as oh, there are several videos. I don't even know where we all are, but I have actually given several talks on this topic, and so we could do another talk, or we could find some of those old videos. There was one video that was done on Zoom that Robert, who still lives here in Thailand, by the way, he's still a good friend of mine, and he and I walked through all of the stuff about going to a Wat and what to do and what to find and all of that. That video is still up. I think it has the word ZM in it, or the letter ZM, for the meaning that it was a Zoom call. So that one would be easy to find, and
Yeah.
it would be good to put that video up on our website.
So another thing we can do too that could be even be easier, and actually, Dummer, I just want to make sure you see this because I know you missed the first part of this, is that there's a new, we created, it's called a Notion. It's kind of like a project management like wiki tool. And so this is a way to keep track of everything that we do, right? It has all of our meeting notes here, has the projects we're working on, has the tasks that we're working on, and then finally it has the all of our board proposals, right? So it's kind of like a central home for everything. And so potentially an easy thing we can do that I've seen a lot of other projects do, like decentralized projects do, is we can start building this out. So we can create kind of like our educational resources on this wiki, because that's kind of like what it's almost meant for.
Yeah, right. That would be something that we could put on there. Before it's put up on the website, the version of it that's there now. Is there any way for mass editing? Can I edit this thing if I wanted to put some stuff into it?
Yeah, so we can make this, well, we can make this publicly editable so that you can edit it as well. So yeah, we can do this so that you can edit directly.
Okay.
But we can talk about this afterwards. But we can kind of make like an a education page.
Oh, I can't scroll this. I'm moving my mouse up and down, and you're moving it around yourself, and my mouse has nothing to do with what's on the screen. I got that.
Yeah. Well, Dhamma, we can talk about this later, but like I think this is a good idea of a project. I'm gonna go back to this now. It's basically creating like a educational resources in the Notion, about how to get connected to a Watt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that Dhammarato, if you'd be up for it, that it could be cool to have another talk, like not right now, obviously, but I mean, with somebody, just because things do change, and so like you've had people that have had experiences, and maybe there's new stuff that has come up and new ideas or whatever. So it could be useful. I know you talk so much anyways, so like I could sit on a call with you for an hour, or somebody else can, and just go over the the new stuff and what we've learned from other people's experiences and things like that. Because I noticed like one thing with the internet is like if something's like been 3 years ago, that's considered like ancient now, just with how people's mindset is. So it can be good to have something fresh maybe.
Absolutely, yes. We need to have enough people involved with the website so that it stays fresh, that we add new content, that we put new videos up, take old videos down, add new information about various temples. In fact, one of the things that I'd like to do with that's a little bit different than the testimonials, is to actually have a rating system, a Yelp watch on our website, so that people could say, yeah, I went to that one and nobody spoke English, and they were too busy to talk to me, that kind of thing. Because there's going to be watch like that. Not every watch is going to be as easily accessible as when we have good introductions. That really everything that's happened with Robert is because of the introductions. First, we introduced him to Achan to Knit, then to Achan Reet, and then Achan Reet introduced him to another monk in Seattle. And then he stayed at that watch. So this is the way that it will work, is the abbots all know each other, and we don't have a clue. But by well, I've got a clue because I was in that community, but it's been 15 years since I was in that community, so I don't know what's going on, but the best parts of it will still be there. So, um, yeah, having a Watt rating system so that people will know which Watts to avoid, rather than everybody's on his own, and if people go to the same big Watt and they're all disappointed with that Watt. It would be better to have that kind of information about which watch to go to. So that would be stuff, and I would like to actually see people being able to do that online. In other words, rate this watt. There has a text box for them to say what they got from each individual watt. So, and maybe even have more than one group. So 5 or 6 people go through our system, and then 5 or 6 people will write comments about that watt. I think we can set that kind of thing up on our website, no problem. But the testimonials, I think that we would want, in fact, to do that all for the watt, like Keyshawn sent it to me, and I sent it to you, and now we'll put that on the website. So blogs and testimonials will put the website management, but with the watt ratings, I think we should allow people online to add that, put that in. What do you think?
The only thing that I see with the Watt rating thing compared to the testimonials is that like the amount of people that have visited a place that are going to take the effort to put a rating down, I wonder how active it's actually going to be and how like
I
comprehensive.
want that to be well policed.
Okay. Yeah, that was also a concern of like, yeah, of like people like, yeah, just having a like their own personal bad experience and then wanting to say something about it. Because it could turn into like people are only going to give negative reviews because that's generally how reviews tend to work, and just that it might not be that active, and if something is not that used, then people are like, oh, why is this website so dead? Because not many people give reviews. I don't know. That's
just
I would give reviews, but I don't know how many other people would.
Yeah, I guess some context for this brainstorm is that like right now we're not as concerned about like what's feasible or what we want to do first. We're just coming up with ideas. So yeah, I totally like the what rating system is like an awesome idea. That there are reasons that might be more or less difficult than some of the other options. But I think, like an initial reaction to that is like, of all the things we could make, it's like probably the most difficult thing we could do together. But basically everything else we've talked about so far is much easier. And so this is a great idea though, and I think we should continue to explore it. I know we're at time here. I just want to make sure before we kind of cap this off, do you guys have any other ideas here about how we can encourage integration into the Watts?
No, I just point out that the 80,000 hours has something similar for different careers. They have guides and stuff, so we could use them as inspiration for those blog posts, or if we're ever doing some more formal guides for how to, say, stay at a Watt in X place, or go for like in Thailand, what would the process be like, or specific things like that. That's an idea.
Yeah, and just to build it, I really. Oh, sorry.
Yes, okay. I would put that we might, in fact, want to have a section about Thai watch as opposed to Western watch in there. That it's a little bit complicated, and Westerners if you just arrived at the airport in Bangkok saying, "Oh well, I'm going to go to Thailand, and all I've got is a plane ticket, and I arrive in Bangkok. Where do we go from here?" Or even if we know the name of a Wat and the name of the city that it's in, where do we go from here? Well, see, I've already been all over Thailand and I fairly well know the transportation system. And so one of the things that we would put on the Thai section would be, why don't you give Damarato a call so that he can give you the information that you need to make your trip safe and secure and non-terrifying, because the airport in Bangkok is a massive building. It is absolutely terrifying if you don't know your way around. And probably nobody knows that there's a subway down in the basement of the airport. But if you tell people that in advance, so even having some travel information about coming to Thailand may be a good thing to put on the website.
Yeah, and I mean, like Bangkok itself is totally disorienting if you've never if you're like an American or something and you've never traveled. I remember my first time going there, and I was just like, "What the hell is going on here?" Like,
I know there's a song about that. One night in Bangkok will make a hard man humble.
even as basic advice like how to not get scammed, which is people like should be able to Google this, but it's not totally obvious to everybody that like, hey, like you need to like kind of be aware of like how to not get like totally scammed just when you first arrive. I remember the first taxi driver I got in with, he's like, what do you want? Do you want girls or drugs? And I was like, oh, okay. The temple sounds nice. Like, like, I don't know about this.
Right. So so that driver is looking at the way you're dressed and the beard and the hair and all of that. And he says, oh, you're just a standard hippie. So you're either here for sex, drug, or rock and roll. And we know the areas in town to send you to that. And he would be quite surprised if you says, oh, well, I want to go to what Patu Salaram, and which is one of the big wats in Thailand and is very close to the downtown city. But anyway, the point that I'm making is that yeah, putting some of that stuff in. One of the things would be make sure that the taxi driver turns the meter on. Now that could be a problem. And the only problem that I remember is that one time that I needed transportation and some woman off the street gave a taxi driver 200 baht and says, take this Western idiot monk to uh, uh, what Chulapatan. And I, dummy, stupid me, really stupid thing, told him to turn the meter on. And he says, we don't need that. And I says, you know, well, I don't know what to be. It wound up being about 400 baht for that taxi driver. And he didn't care. He was taking a monk, and the other layperson gave him 200 baht. That was a time for me to chill, and I didn't. And I remember that. That was one of the most stupid things I did as a monk, is insisted that taxi driver turn the meter on. And not only that, but part of the reason that it was kind of expensive that way is because he took extra care for me, that he didn't just say, oh, the watch over there, you go across the street. No, he went way, way down out of his way to make sure that I was well taken care of. And the meter had already gotten way over 300 baht, and so I was sitting melting in the back seat out of stupidity and bad feelings because I made him turn that meter on. But that's an important point, because otherwise they'll charge you a huge amount of money if they don't have the meter. But if they've got the meter on, then they have to charge according to the meter. They've also gotten very sophisticated. The taxi union in Bangkok, they have their own websites and lost and founds and all kinds of things. So it's very much up. But you're right, there are scams. The bigger scams will be in the Samlor, the three-wheelers, the tuk-tuks. Those are where the scams are, to where taxi drivers are much more organized and regulated and have to have their meters and all of that kind of stuff. So that would be one thing to put on the website. If you have a choice between a taxi and a Samlor, take the taxi. Use the meter. Because the Samlors, they're used to just moving back and forth between the drug dealers and the brothels. That's what they're doing. So I like that. Yeah, we could put that. What to do if you're coming to Thailand? That would be something that we. And I'll take that. I'll write that up myself.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think we've got. Oh, sorry, Joe, we're gonna say something.
I was gonna say one other quick thing, just because it hasn't been mentioned, but just because Dhammarato sometimes has talked about practicing on your own in the wilderness, and Keyshawn wrote up his thing about it, and I've tried practicing on my own in the wilderness, and it can be a nice thing. So just since we're brainstorming, just it could be something to just have hey, this is how you actually do it. Because when I was trying to figure out what to do, it's just guessing kind of, and was I guess this is how I've practiced with other people enough, so it's fine, but I can see other people who haven't, that could be nice to have some sort of framework or something to work on of hey, this is how you practice on your own in the wilderness,
Yes. In fact, part of the introduction to that would be people reading Kishan's blog about him going to the wilderness. So having several of that's maybe one of the things we could do it in the sense of having a blog. Oh, this is how you should go and do it in the woods. Or we can have testimonials about this is what happened to me in the woods. So we can do both of those, in fact.
Cool. No, these are all great ideas. And I think we've got, unless anybody has any last minute things to add, because we are over time at this point. The goal of this is to collect a bunch of ideas, not prioritize them. But then what we're going to do, and I think Parker's leading this process, is really figuring out how we want to prioritize what we do first, right? we can't do all of these things immediately. We're gonna have to pick one or two things and then do those. And so that's kind of like our next task until the next meeting is like figure out the framework to prioritize them somewhat based on like the impact and then the effort. And then we want to get some like easy wins, right? It's kind of like practice where you want to kind of do something simple, have that succeed, so that as an organization we can feel like, hey, we're doing the right thing. This is working. We're making progress. And so we kind of want to get those reps under our belt. And so yeah, I think this has been like a really awesome session. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can continue to add ideas to this notion. And then apart from that, yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, I think the next call we're gonna have is we're gonna basically kind of have these ideas prioritized, and then people who want to lead the projects are going to volunteer to lead it, right? And a project lead is going to be the person who's pushing it forward, helping coordinate volunteers, and really driving this thing forward. So that's what we'll be doing next week, is just figuring out who's going to do what.
Yeah, and I would just say, let's just chat about this stuff too, because like I think a lot of these things sound fun, and like I don't necessarily think that you need like a leader for some of them. Some of it is just like, hey, let's just like work on this because this sounds fun. So, you know,
I think part of the challenge though is that when there isn't someone who's like leading an effort, things just get lost and buried and fizzle out. So for example, Keyshawn wrote a blog post and he spent a lot of time on it and it looks great. It's an awesome blog post, but there isn't a leader for creating a testimonials like section in the website or the Notion. And so if we're not careful, his testimonial will get buried and lost forever, right?
Yeah, let's work on that. Yeah,
and so basically that's where it's helpful to have a leader and someone who's accountable, is saying like, hey, there's no boss here, right? But someone has to take responsibility and say, hey, I'm going to make this thing happen. I'm going to figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Has anybody been in contact with Annie Lou recently? Because she had gotten started, and now I haven't heard much from her.
Yeah, I messaged her on Skype, but I haven't been able to get in contact with her. But we still have Matt helping out on the website. So I think a lot of the things we need to do as well will be very minimal work on the website. We do a lot of stuff in Notion as well that doesn't require like special skills. But yeah, I haven't been able to get in contact with her.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be one thing that all of us non-techie non-web people can sit and job on it all day about what we want on the website. But if there's no one to actually put it on the website, we're not going to make much progress that way.
Yeah, and that's like what's a cool thing about using Notion is that like we can kind of do things without being blocked by a developer. So with this kind of wiki tool I've been showing, like we can just start making things immediately as soon as we think of them without having to rely on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems great. I mean, I think it could be fun to learn how to like do website editing, but like, I mean, I don't know hardly anything, so I'm kind of limited there on what I can actually do. But I think a lot of these things sound fun, and I would be happy to work on it with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, so for everyone listening at home, like next week or next meeting is the time we're going to figure out, like, if you're excited about any of these ideas, anything you want to do, you can like decide to just do it. It's like there's no gatekeeper. It's kind of up to you.
Mm-hmm. I assume that some of the more technical stuff on the website would be the membership list with various classifications in the list, and those classifications are intended to design about which newsletters an individual will get.
Yeah, I think
so that we can have a newsletter just for teachers. We can have a newsletter for those who are already in Watts. We can have newsletters for the donors that have already made donations and things like that.
So that would be a new project. So I'm gonna write that down on the brainstorm list of like a newsletter for. I'll put that in the camaraderie section, like a newsletter for teachers. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's another project that someone would have to own and take control over.
Okay. Yeah, so we got lots of stuff to just barnstorm on, and really, guys, I'm so pleased that we've gotten the 501(c) as far as we have. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for doing that. You and Parker and Christopher and Ian have all contributed to that.
Yeah, it's been a fun process.
So we're making progress. We're on a roll.
Yeah. I think it's gonna start. And now it's starting next week, we're gonna actually start doing stuff. So I think it's gonna start feeling good.
Excellent.
All right, y'all. Should we break? See you guys
Good to
later.
see you all.
Bye.
It was great
Bye-bye.
to see you guys. Thank you very much again.
Okay. Bye-bye.